Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 8th of October, wherein we try and make all important news of the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So let's look at the important news which we're going to cover today. First is Ministry of Finance has launched foreign currency settlement system at Gift City, Gujarat. Then central and state cooperative banks have been brought under the ambit of Reserve Bank of India Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2021. Then again, of course, we know about Nobel Prize. So again, 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics has been given. So again, we are going to discuss them. Then Tamil Nadu has sanctioned 1 crore for conservation of 4 lesser known endangered species. And National Payment Corporation of India has launched new digital payment initiatives. We are also going to discuss few quick updates for the day. So the very first news is Ministry of Finance has launched foreign currency settlement system at Gift City of Gujarat. Very important news. So before that, it is very important to understand these kind of news. Maybe there could be a question in prelims examination from certain areas which I'm going to discuss, as well as in paper number 3 of GS, that is economics, it is going to be used. Then as far as this area is concerned, recently Ministry of Finance has launched a foreign currency settlement system. What exactly is this foreign currency settlement system? Technically, if you understand, if you're in Gift City, we know about Gift City. Let's say if a bank is operating, or an Indian bank is operating in Gift City, if it is transacting in US dollars, the settlement has to pass through a multi-stage process. For example, if Indian bank in a Gift City wanted for any transaction to be happening in dollars, it was earlier requiring few of the checks. Example, I'll tell you how. So in the earlier system and with this new system, what exactly is the difference? This is how you're going to get to know the difference in a more clarified manner. Firstly, again, if any bank was doing any kind of transaction in dollars in Gift City, the money was routed via foreign banks, again, or the correspondent bank which was associated. But with this new system, there is a direct settlement of the transaction. There is no requirement of any of correspondent bank for the settlement process. Directly it is being done with this particular process. Then again, earlier it required 36 to 48 hours of time for settlement of a particular payment. Imagine a particular payment requiring 48 hours of maximum time for settlement. How would you expect maybe a very timely payment to suppliers? So again, this was something which was there a problem. And again, with this system, again, on a very real time or a very near time basis, settlement of the transaction is going to happen. Then we have, again, as this early system required multiple intermediaries who are giving authorization for that particular settlement process, the process was quite costly, time consuming at the same time. But with this new system, it is going to be less cost and more efficient as far as time is concerned. Then again, the transactions was dependent on other countries' system. For example, if a transaction has to be done through US or maybe any European country, so again, we will dependent on the banking system of that particular company. But with this kind of settlement, we are self-relying on Indian ecosystem altogether. And lastly, again, there was a possibility of risk and delays because we were dependent on foreign country system. There was a time consuming, a lot of authorization was needed to be done. But with this new system, it is going to create a more transparent system. And again, we have more control over such financial transactions settlement is concerned, as far as transactions in its Gift City is concerned. So this is how this was something earlier also happening in, let's say, the cities like Hong Kong and Tokyo, where again, all such settlement system was happening at a very local level. So again, this is one very new initiative, very good initiative as far as the Gift City of India is concerned. This FCSS is basically approved by International Financial Systems Centers Authority, under which act? Payments and Settlement System Act. That is a basic act for all kind of payment settlement in India. If you're doing any kind of payment through UPI transactions, if you're ordering any food through any of the apps, you go to a third party and again you pay, there is the settlement of that payment is done as per as the rules and regulations mentioned in this Payment and Settlement Systems Act of 2007. Very important. Again, these are the areas under which UPSC can frame prelims based questions. And then the main idea, of course, is to promote the idea of settlement of any kind of transactions which is being done in foreign currency directly in then and there itself, without going through any kind of banking correspondence or any of the level of check for any other country as far as settlement of these foreign currency transactions were concerned. Very important development. Again, you can use them in your answers, as well as maybe international financial inclusion is concerned, right? So again, all such areas in terms of ease of doing business in India is concerned. Again, these are the examples which could be used in your answers. Then in general, basically about GIFT City, IFCA. Again, you know about GIFT City. Again, it is a basic operational smart city, which is India's only international financial service center. Under this service centers, again, there are multiple kind of financial institutions, banks who are operating. And again, they are not governed by Indian rules and regulations. They are governed under different set of rules and regulations. So that is how it is. It is again a platform or a global platform for Indian and foreign financial players to trade, invest, and manage money. Again, basic details about GIFT City you must have read. Again, they are coming under International Financial Service Centers Authority Act of 2019. Any kind of financial institutions or activities under the GIFT City are governed by this single regulator. That is the basic idea. Unlike, again, we have for banking, we have RBI. For maybe capital markets, money markets, we have SEBI. Again, for GIFT City, we have this as an authority, and again, its headquarters is in GIFT City, Gujarat. That is a basic idea. So again, very important development which has happened with respect to the GIFT City of Gujarat. Now, the next news is RBI has brought central and state cooperative banks under Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2021. Again, a very important topic as far as banking and non-banking financial companies of paper number 3 is concerned. In prelims examination, we have seen down the line, many questions has been asked from the chapter of banking and money. So again, different kind of banks are there in the country. They are regulated by Reserve Bank of India. Now I'm asking you a question. With this, let's say if any kind of complaint you have with respect to any of the issues with respect to bank is concerned, you can directly approach the banking ombudsman, which is appointed by Reserve Bank of India, which is basically a senior official who is going to address all complaints against any banks operating in the country. So earlier, cooperative banks, again, there are different cooperative banks, again, state cooperative banks, central cooperative banks. Both of them were not earlier coming under this ombudsman scheme. For example, any consumer who had complaint against this urban or rural state cooperative banks in India, they cannot approach the banking ombudsman. But with this scheme, it is now coming under the ambit of this Integrated Ombudsman Scheme of 2021. So basically now, for any services, for example, delay in services, wrong charges, unfair treatment, any kind of complaint you have with respect to cooperative banks operating at central or state level, you can approach the banking ombudsman as per this particular new mechanism. Then what exactly is this banking integrated ombudsman scheme of RBI, which was launched in the year 2021? So basically, technically a helpline for customers or for non-banking financial companies. Against any of them, if you have any complaint, you can directly approach the banking ombudsman. So again, the objective was to treat and give customers a very fast, free and fair way to resolve all of their banking complaints. It is coming under the Section 35A of Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Very important. Again, these are the facts which you're going to remember as far as prelims questions are concerned. And again, it was launched in the year 2021. So what earlier this scheme was covering, these kind of banks. For example, all commercial banks in the country were governed under the ombudsman scheme. All regional rural banks were covered, urban cooperative banks were covered, but which had deposits of more than 50 crore rupees. That was a catch. But now every central and state cooperative banks have been added under this particular ombudsman scheme. Again, NBFCs with assets above 100 crore, the deal directly with customers, they were also included under this particular scheme. System participants, again, those are the bodies which are operating or which are involved in digital payment systems. They are also included. And lastly, credit information companies, again, like CIBIL, all of them, if you have any complaints against any of these bodies, you can directly approach the official appointed by RBI, that is called as a RBI Banking Ombudsman, right? That is a basic idea. So this, again, the word here was integrated ombudsman scheme. Why integrated? So earlier we had different ombudsmen for different kind of mechanisms. For banks, we had banking ombudsman. For NBFC, we have NBFC ombudsman 2018. For digital transactions, we had a different kind of complainant or ombudsman. So all of them, it was seen that again, banking as a system has to be seen as single entity. Whether you are transacting through an NBFC or a bank or a digital way of transaction, complaints has to be heard under one body. And again, with this kind of mechanism, there was a lot of confusion respect to whom to approach for a different kind of complaint. So again, that is the idea of one nation, one ombudsman, which again was the idea. And that is why we have this ombudsman scheme of 2021, which has integrated all of three of them. What exactly are the powers? So again, any complaint if you do against all of these authorities over there, the ombudsman has been authorized to minimum, again, compensate any customer up to 20 lakh rupees, right? And if there is any delay, like let's say if the compensation amount is not being given, or there is any delay in the complaint redressal mechanism, it can also give extra 1 lakh for time, expenses, mental harassment caused by the bank. So these are the powers of the ombudsman as far as a banking ombudsman scheme of 2021 is concerned. So again, very important development. Again, these kind of news makes important for prelims nature of questions in examination. I'll show you one example. Again, this was a question asked in the year 2010, with reference to institutions of banking ombudsman in India, which one of the statement is not correct. Again, very one important thing. Whenever you solve questions in examination, in a hurry, do not overread or maybe misread the question. So again, the catch here is which of the options are not correct. So again, many times in hurry of attempting questions in the examination, we do these kind of silly mistakes. Even if we know the answer, right, and we know about everything in the question, we tend to do a silly mistake. So again, please be very careful whenever you are reading questions in examination. So again, options is not correct. The banking ombudsman is appointed by Reserve Bank of India. We know it is correct. The banking ombudsman can consider complaints from non-resident Indians having accounts in India. Yes, again, it is not mandatory that again it can not hear complaints against NRIs. It can hear that as well. The orders passed by banking ombudsman are final and binding on parties. Again, if you understand, in India, nowhere some authority has been given the final binding powers. We know about it. So again, even if you don't know, if you have not read, this is the way you can negate some options out, right? So again, of course, it is not the final authority. So again, this statement is of course incorrect. The services provided by banking ombudsman is free of any fee. Yes, of course, they are not charging any kind of fee for any kind of complaint redressal mechanism. So this is also correct. So the incorrect option here is C. Then the next news which we're going to cover is, again, the Nobel Prize in Physics has been awarded to John Clark, Michael Deverett, and John Martinez, and they have been awarded for showing quantum behavior in macroscopic hand size system. So again, don't get too much into the technicality of the why this news has been given. What exactly are the technical areas of this physics development? No. A basic understanding, a very simple understanding. for a common person or for a person who is writing this examination is that much is required. No detailed analysis is required as far as the technicality of the Nobel Prize topic is concerned. So again, let's look at, so again, we all know about quantum mechanics. So again, quantum mechanics is that branch of physics which deals with the study of small particles. For example, particles or study of matter and energy of very small scales. For examples, atoms, protons, electrons. So these are the ones who behave in a different manner, like they can behave as a wave or as well as a particle. So again, that is the basic idea of quantum mechanics. So again, what are some of the special features of these quantum mechanics? So with this, these small particles have a different kind of what I call as a magical properties. For example, they are having a superposition properties. They can be at a very same time at two places. Again, this is magic. So again, just on a lighter note, so again, they have a property of what we call as superposition, that again, being at two states at one time. Then again, they have a property of quantum tunneling. They can pass through different barriers. That is a property of quantum particles. And then lastly, they have energy quantization, that is energy changes in fixed packets or quantums. So these are the properties of quantum particles. So again, with respect to quantum particles, it was basically observed at a microscopic level. For example, we cannot see with naked eyes electrons, protons, atoms. So this was something which physicists were concerned. Can we experience some of the quantum physics properties whenever we talk about some macroscopic particles? Examples of some macroscopic particles, something which we can see with naked eyes, for example, a ball or any handful or small amount of any substance or anything which we can see through naked eyes. So do these also exhibit quantum mechanics or quantum principles? That was a study which was being done in last 40 years by these physicists, and that is why they have been given Nobel Prize. So again, this is possible. Let's see how. So again, the big question was, can quantum mechanics apply to large systems? We have seen quantum mechanics apply to small atoms, protons, electrons, but not to big or maybe something which you can see through our naked eyes. Clear? So this was something which was done, and scientists has believed that again, all the three properties which we have discussed as far as the quantum particles are concerned, they are also exhibited at a macroscopic level. We discussed this at a microscopic level, again, which the particles which are not visible through naked eyes, but at macroscopic level as well, we experience what we call as quantum mechanics. That was something which was being researched, and that is why they have got Nobel Prize. That is, that they have proved that quantum rules still work even at a human scale level. Right? So what exactly they have discovered? So they have done an experiment which we call as Josephson junction. So again, they have basically made a circuit. Example like this, I'll show you. So technically, let's say if you imagine there is a wall and there's a ball. Can a ball pass through that particular barrier? No. So that was something which was seen. But again, as far as quantum mechanics is concerned, they can do a process, what you call it, because we have seen that one property of quantum particles, that they can pass through certain barriers that we call as quantum tunneling. So again, this was something which is also observed at macroscopic level. So what they have done, they have basically made a sandwich between two superconductors. What are superconductors? Superconductors have a very in fact, they have zero resistance in terms of passage of current. They have a very great conductivity. So between these superconductors, one thin layer of an insulator was done. So insulator would act as a barrier. So technically, current cannot pass through insulators. So in this electric circuit, it was observed that again, even if through that barrier, this big quantum particle could pass through and could tunnel through. That is the idea which these scientists have discovered, right? So with this, what they have done, that they have basically two superconductors were separated by an insulating layer, which I discussed. And this junction was basically called as Josephson junction. What they have observed, that even though insulators block current, electrons tunneled through the barrier. So again, if you see here, the insulators was a barrier, even if electrons tunneled through that particular circuit, which was observed in this particular experiment. And the circuit behaved as a quantum system. What is a quantum system? That is absorbing and emitting discrete energy at discrete levels. Clear? So again, what exactly is quantum tunneling? Maybe as I discussed, a ball cannot pass through a wall or a barrier. But in the quantum tunneling mechanism, there is a chance that in quantum mechanics, such particles can pass through the barrier. That is something which you call as tunnel. Without breaking that barrier, they can pass through it. That is the idea which they have been discussed. So the scientists showed this effect in electronic circuits. So again, as far as circuits were concerned, this Josephson circuit was constructed. And again, they showcased that again, yes, at a macroscopic level as well. This is the quantum properties which was only observed at a microscopic level. They are also experienced at macroscopic level as well. So again, they have proved that macroscopic systems can show quantum tunneling in India. Clear? Then in terms of again, what exactly is its utility? So again, they are sometimes, again, they are used, this kind of discoveries is basically used for the purpose of quantum computers development, for quantum sensors, for microchips development, and for medical imaging. So these are the few areas which could be developed, which is going to see a huge amount of impact as far as this discovery is concerned. So again, very important topic. Many times in prelims examination, there have been questions wherein they ask you on what topic, on what area the Nobel Prize has been given. So this is something which is going to help you down as far as that particular nature of questions are concerned in this examination. Okay. Moving on to the next news. So Tamil Nadu government has given 1 crore plan to project the 4 rare endangered species in the state. So again, whenever these kind of species comes up in news, because as far as environment and ecology is concerned, in prelims examination, there are a lot of questions which are asked based on species of maybe they are endangered, critically endangered, maybe what kind of habitat they live into, right? So again, we read there are multiple species of flora and fauna, but some of these species comes in news that makes that species important for the next year examination. So whenever you come across such species of flora, fauna in news, you're going to read them very carefully, because out of all species which we are reading, these are the most important as far as examination is concerned. So in Tamil Nadu, what they have done, there are 4 rare endangered species. Again, they are very rare species, but they are still endangered. What are those? Lion-tailed macaw, madras, headingong, striped hyena, and hump-headed mahseer fish. So again, they have been given protection by providing 1 crore amount has been given for protection of these 4 rare endangered species. Tamil Nadu is doing commendably well as far as the conservation of biodiversity is concerned. They have also efforts for dugong conservation reserve. Dugong is basically a sea cow. So again, a sea cow in the Palkibbe region, they have been doing effort for their protection. They have Kadavur Slender Loris Sanctuary. Again, that is a program which is being run for protection of tiny nocturnal primate species. They have Project Nilgiri Thar, which is again the Tamil Nadu state animal. So again, they have been doing efforts for these kind of species as well. So again, we came across at least 7 species as of now in this. Please remember, go and see just their images. With this kind of news, whenever you associate them with some images, you create a pictographic memory. So this pictographic memory is making sure that again you are retaining such species for a long period of time as far as remembrance from examination point is concerned. So again, whenever you come across such species of any flora and fauna, because the names are very difficult to pronounce, so you are going to Google it, you're going to see the images That is how you're going to create a very pictographic image memory, and again that's how you can retain that particular species in your memory for a long duration of time. Again, a tip for the examination. So this particular effort, because India has also signed what we call as Kunming's Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So this framework is basically talking about protecting of 30% of Earth's land and sea areas. That is what the name is given, 30 cross 30. So again, 30% of land and sea areas are going to be protected by 2030. So again, under this particular program, the government has launched these efforts for protection of these rare endangered species. So again, Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework also is there. You're going to read about them as well. What are the targets? Again, the target is, of course, we have seen 30% of protection of land and sea, that is 30 cross 30 by 2030. So again, these are the areas in which you can see or expect questions as far as prelims based questions are concerned. Then, as I discussed, you're going to read for any species which are in use these 5-6 parameters. One, what is their IUCN status? What is their sites listing? In they are listed in sites or not? Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix 3, whatever they are. What is their, against the Wildlife Protection Act, what is their status? In terms of endemic, where they are originally found, you're going to read about them. Then what kind of, as there are endangered species, so what kind of threats they are facing, you're going to read them. And lastly, basic information that again they can ask you, because they can give you a species name and they can give you 4 statements. What is the IUCN status? Maybe some of the specific quality of a particular species. So read around these 5-6 areas as far as any species is concerned. That is how you're going to easily solve questions of prelims examination. Again, please read about them. What kind of protection is there as far as these 5-6 parameters are concerned. The next news is National Payments Corporation of India. We all know about it, the brainchild of digital payments in India. So again, a recent summit was going on. That is a Global FinTech Festival of 2025. So again, it has launched new digital payment initiatives. So again, NPCI has launched new payment initiatives or digital payment initiatives in this Global FinTech Festival of 2025. Again, very important to know about what exactly is NPCI. So NPCI is basically a non-profit company. It is an initiative by Reserve Bank of India and Indian Banks Association. Again, under system of what? Payment and Settlement Systems Act of 2007. Because how do you do transactions through UPI? Right? So whenever you do digital kind of transactions, that has to be settled. Maybe if you have paid for an online order of Zomato or any of the apps you do, so amount which has been debited from your bank has to be credited to the receiver's account as well. So that process called as payment settlement process. So any kind of payment settlement happening in India has to pass, again, it is governed by the Payments and Settlement Systems Act of 2007. So again, as far as NPCI is concerned, we see RuPay cards. Technically, initially we had MasterCard, Visa cards. So again, and this RuPay card is something indigenized version of debit and credit cards across the world. Then again, UPI has been launched by NPCI, that is Instant Mobile Money Transfer. We have FASTag. Again, it is also being made by this NPCI. Then again, we talk about IMPS, Nach, Aadhaar Pay. All of them has been made by National Payment Corporation of India. So what 4 new initiatives has been launched? Let's see one by one. NPCI Tech Solutions Limited. So again, a new company has been created by NPCI, which is called as Tech Solution Limited. So basically, it is trying to figure out more such innovative areas of digital transaction. So again, the job is to test and build new fintech technologies as far as payment settlement is concerned. It is going to help startups, banks, businesses to develop better, faster and safer payment tools. Again, a company which has been has been made for this particular purpose. Then we have UPI multi-signatory features. So again, all of you must have done UPI transactions. So again, there is a single authority who can do that particular transaction. Like if it is your UPI account, you enter that particular password and then the transaction is being done. what if there is a new feature what they have added? In case of joint accounts, the transaction has to pass through two stage. Maybe let's say in a particular company, if let's say there are two partners, so again this is joint account, so payment has to be authorized by both of them. That is has been a new feature which has been launched. So now multiple people can control one UPI account, which was not earlier there. Then we have Forex on Bharat Connect. So again, Bharat Connect or Bharat maybe Bill Pay was a platform through which we could pay all our utility bills. So this under this Bharat Connect, what has been done? So technically, if you're going to abroad, you want let's say US dollars or any of the foreign currencies, you need to go to the bank, and then again you ask for forex reserves. But under this new scheme which has been launched by NPCI, through this online the for Forex and Bharat Connect has been linked together. So any user can buy or access foreign currencies directly through their regular banking and payment apps and need not to visit banks for or Forex counter for such foreign currencies. Then again, whenever you want to withdraw cash, what do you need to have? Your ATM cards. So with this new technology, with your apps or UPI apps, you can withdraw money. Again, that has been there. So PPI, the people can use or to their UPI accounts to withdraw cash using UPI again at micro ATMs, and they just are supposed to scan the QR code and UPI in their phone, and then basically they can do that or cash withdrawal by using their UPI accounts. Again, these are the 4 new initiatives which has been launched by NPCI in this new summit of Global FinTech Summit of 2025. Very important developments. Again, probable questions as far as prelims examination is concerned. You can use them as far as the idea of digital inclusion, digital financial inclusion is concerned in India. That is how it has to be done. Now, moving on to the quick updates for the day. So the very first news is 7th Moscow format meeting has been conducted, and Taliban for the very first time has participated as a formal member in this particular meeting. So this meeting was basically this body of that Moscow format was established in the year 2017, which is basically a regional platform of countries of India, Afghanistan, China, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. So member countries are these. This was a platform to talk about peace, stability, and reconciliation as far as the Afghanistan state is concerned. That was there. So again, Taliban as a formal member has been attending that particular meeting for the very first time. That is why it is in news. Again, they can ask you 7th Moscow format. Again, what are the member countries? What is their purpose? That is how prelims-based questions are asked on these kind of small topics from IR. The next topic is, again, you must have known the polar Silk Route. So China has launched it, and again, the very first ship has departed from Ningbo Zhongshan port via Arctic Ocean along Russia's coast, marking the first start of this polar Silk Route. So polar Silk Route has been initiative which has launched by China, and this is introduced in China's first Arctic policy white paper of 2018. The route which they are going to travel is North America, East Asia, and Western Europe. That is how through this route these regions is going to be connected, and making the whole idea of trade more shorter, cost effective in terms of global trade. So this is an idea which had an objective of enhancing cooperation in the Arctic nations with the focus of navigation around this particular route, keeping in mind environment protection, clean energy and research. And that is why they have been also giving an idea of blue economic corridor, which is basically integrating Arctic development with China's Belt and Road Initiative, which we know, right? Then we have PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. We have discussed it many a times. Again, the idea of this particular program is to give 1 crore households 300 units of free electricity per month via solar rooftop. So the nodal ministry is Ministry of New and Renewable Energies, and the world's largest domestic rooftop solar initiative is this PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. It was in news. Why? Because the public sector banks have, as far as now, have sanctioned 5 lakh plus loans under this particular scheme, right? So what are the features of PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana? Subsidized maybe solar rooftop in cases of residential households and group housing societies or resident welfare associations. Then again, special states are also going to be given extra 10% of subsidy per kilowatt of energy. And it, again, the solar energy is basically promoting the idea of clean, affordable and self-reliant energy for home. Again, very important development. Then the next topic is Central Board for Indirect Taxes and Customs has introduced an auto approval for IFSC registration. So all of you must know, whenever you have done a banking transactions, every branch of a particular bank has an IFSC code. So under this particular scheme, the IFSC registration is now going to be make an auto approval basis, which is going to make the whole idea of boosting ease of doing business through faster system-based approvals. So what exactly is IFSC? Every bank has a specific IFSC code. Let's say if you are doing any transactions, whenever you're transferring amount through maybe bank or let's say net banking, you are asked your IFSC code. Why? Because that code is unique to every banking branch of that particular area. This IFSC code is making sure that again the amount which is done in that particular transaction is particularly credited to that particular account holder only. That is the basic use of IFSC code. It was used for any of the RTGS, IMPS at a global level for online international transactions, just like IFSC for domestic maybe domestic transactions. For international transactions, we have a SWIFT code for international transfers. So basic idea that again the auto approval of IFSC registration has been recently done by CBIC. So basically details about CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. It is coming under Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue. It was established in the year 1964. Basic facts hai, bilkul padhiye. What are the functions? Levy and collection of customs, excise, CGST, IGST, and it is trying to curb the idea of smuggling and frame indirect tax policies in India. Again, important development. This is where maybe they can ask you about, let's say, IFC or maybe SWIFT code. Because recently in this year examination prelims, we had a questions around the payment settlement, RTGS, NEFT. So again, you can expect questions like this in examination of prelims. The next topic is legal protection of wetlands in India. So recently, Supreme Court has declined the request of Nagpur's Futula Lake, which is basically a wetland or which is basically a man-made irrigation lake. They were asking for status of a wetland so that wetland under wetland conservation and management rules they could be protected. So Supreme Court has declined that. Again, it is an artificial man-made lake. It is not a natural wetland. So we are not going to give you protection under this wetlands conservation and management rules of 2017. They have also told that again all human-made water bodies for irrigation purpose, for aquaculture, for salt production, for recreation purposes, they are not natural wetlands and they are not going to be getting protection under the wetlands conservation management rules of 2017. There are a few other wetlands who are also excluded from this list. So all of these wetlands, for example, river channels, paddy fields, and again, there are also wetlands or any wetlands which are covered already under the Forest Act of 1927, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and the CRZ notification of 2011. All of these wetlands are also not protected under this wetland conservation rules of 2017. That has been the basic idea. So, but again, that does not mean they are not protected. They will be given protection under, for example, they are covered under the public trust doctrine and Article 21 because they have been given a right to life and personal liberty in India. Maybe we have seen Ganga, Yamuna have been given as living species as far as the right to life and healthy environment is concerned. So again, they are protected under this public trust doctrine in Article 21 of Indian Constitution. So public trust doctrine is basically that state must protect shared natural resources for public benefit. That is the idea. The next topic is Operation Hikey 7 was there in news. So basically you all know about international crimes or cyber crimes happening at an international level. So there has to be some association which is going to make sure that again we are solving such global cyber crimes jointly. So Interpol this has been leading this operation high key. So again there has been 6 such events. So again that is why from 1 to 6. So under this operation high key 6, Central Bureau of Investigation has arrested 8 key cyber crimes operatives under this particular program. This is financially supported by Republic of Korea. Again, the idea is for transnational cyber crimes in terms of specifically cyber-enabled financial crimes. They're curbing and disrupting illicit monetary flows and strengthening global cooperation. They are basically targeting 5 focus areas or 5 kind of cyber crimes. For example, investment frauds, romance scams, then online gambling and money laundering, online sextortion, and voice phishing. All of these are protected under this initiative of Interpol. Very important topic. The next topic is INS Antaroth has been commissioned. So again, if you read as far as the defense related news are concerned, you see such kind of questions in examination. INS Antaroth, and they can give you 4 or 5 statements about that particular INS. Again, this is how that these kind of news are important as far as prelims examination is concerned. So recently, the Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam has commissioned this particular INS Antaroth. So this is basically an anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. And the builder is, of course, it is being built by Garden Research Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited of Kolkata. The basic highlights are it is a second nature of this kind of anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. The first was INS Arnala, which was basically out of 8 planned vessels. And it is named after Antaroth Island, which is there as the northernmost part of Lakshadweep Island. They can ask you, maybe place in news, Antaroth Island, where exactly it is located. So again, it is the northernmost part of Lakshadweep. Please locate them in map. So what kind of features it has? It has maritime surveillance and search and rescue capabilities. It is basically a coastal and anti-submarine defense missions. It is having low intensity maritime operation, LIMO. Again, basic capabilities of this particular INS is very important. Again, questions around prelims could be asked from these kind of topics in news. The next particular news is again discovery of Wispit 2b. Again, what exactly is Wispit? So astronomers has basically imaged protoplanet Wispit 2b forming inside its photoplanetary disk. So again, don't get too much into technicality. They can ask you basically, Wispit 2b was in news. It is basically a what? It is basically a kind of protoplanet. That is the basic news. So the host star is Wispit 2. What are the basic facts around this particular body or thing? Wispit 2b is basically a giant gas which is having a size 5 times of Jupiter's mass, right? And it is 5 million years old, and it is named after wide separation planets in time, that is Wispit research program. What exactly is its significance? It confirms that gaps in protoplanetary disk are created by developing planets' gravity. That is why you see a giant gas kind of a feature of this. And it provides direct evidence of planet formation in progress, a rare cosmic observation. So again, these kind of discoveries, they are basically reflected in the form of question. They don't ask too much detail. They basically trying to ask and know whether you are aware about such kind of discoveries in space or not, right? So with this, we come to an end of today's discussion. All important questions of prelims which could be framed from the news which we have discussed today will pop up in your screen. It is your responsibility and duty, I emphasize duty, that again you solve such questions, and please post your comments or your answers in the comment section, so that again there is a competitive spirit around all students who are watching this initiative of Vision IS. And lastly, Vision has come up with a digital current affairs platform. Please go and navigate it. It is going to certainly help you a lot in terms of your current affairs preparation. So thank you so very much and have a good night.